Howdy everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I was going through some videos and some pictures and I found some very cool evidence that I thought was justifiable enough to show y'all, whether it's a camera or still shot or some of the EVP work from that investigation. I'd love to show you. When I did the podcast with Tracy, we first did the podcast. It started out pretty cool. Our first show was about San Antonio urban legends, and we talked about the tracks, and we talked about Truro Bridge, and we talked about the Chinese graveyard and Donkey Lady Bridge. And then we thought it went great. You know, we thought we were cool. And then our second show was all about demons. Now, we pre-recorded our shows on Saturdays, and he would bring like little snacks for us, like soda or chips and dips and stuff, or he would make something very cool because he was a fantastic cook. I love Tracy's cooking, and he knew how to keep a fat girl happy. During our show on demons, we talked about exorcisms, and we talked about signs of how you can tell an infestation was going to happen and was coming around, and the stuff that caused this infestation. Portals are everywhere. So with that in mind, we had 15-minute interval breaks, and our show was an hour. So we would do 15 minutes and then break and then go snack, eat, talk, bullshit. And then we'd start the show again. The second time we broke, I went to the restroom. I came back and he's like, "Were you just talking outside?" And I was like, "No." And then he would say he would hear voices. And during the third taping of the podcast, we both would hear little knockings on the wall. Now, we were on the second floor at the iHeart studio here in San Antonio. And the only way to get to the top window is if you have those elevator things that clean the windows outside. There was no ledge, there was no balcony. It was just a straight wall and a window. And we were hearing knockings on the window. And we were in a soundproof room. So everything was carpeted and it was thick. It was a radio station. We were there in a radio station, and it's all solid, so you can't hear that kind of knocking unless it's on a wooden wall. And we were hearing it clear, and then we were like, what was that? While we were recording, we actually caught all the noises that were going on. And in a little bit I'll upload some of the stuff that we recorded from the actual podcast, and you could hear us talking and then hear a little version of our podcast, and then you could hear us laughing because then we started hearing other voices that weren't there. Now, Tracy and I would record from maybe 6 o'clock at night all the way to maybe 4 in the morning because we would do 2 shows, so he could be up ahead every time. During that time, there was only one person in the station, and he was way at the other end, and he was usually just monitoring the music and traffic updates and all that stuff. So when we were talking and doing our podcast, we would hear voices talking with us. So much so that we had to stop to listen to what they were saying. We couldn't make out what they were saying, but we could hear the murmur and the mumbles. And so luckily he caught that also while we were recording, because it was recording while we were doing this. And I'll play the excerpts in a second. But that night, when I left the studio, he said he had so much going on that he could not even edit our show because there was so much going on, so much activity stirred up. And I think it was just, he thought it was because we talked about exorcisms and demons. And every time we went into that room, it felt wiggy. It felt weird. So we switched studios. We went from one studio A to studio B, and everything was okay. That's where we kept our stuff, and that was where his studio ended up being. And the one next to it was just too creepy to walk into anymore. We couldn't do it. Nobody wanted to be in that studio, not even the workers that were there wanted to go into that studio. So we decided to one day go into that studio and do an investigation. So I took my friends, and John was with me. We took our regular hunting team. Derek actually was involved. Derek is another YouTuber that some of you need to go and see his videos because they're pretty cool and he's pretty funny. He was on investigation with us, and I'll show pictures of him there as well. And Tracy was using the pendulum, and we were taking lots of videos and a lot of pictures. We have some EVP from there. We did it twice, I think. Once with Tracy and Maria and Derek and my husband and Melly and me. We were all there. And then the second time we did it was just John, Tracy, me, and Maria. And then that's where Maria and I used the Ouija board. And that was a creepy one, because every time Tracy would ask a question, me and Maria were the only ones willing to touch the Ouija board. We were right there. He was above us. John was videotaping and taking pictures. And we were doing the Ouija board, and it was answering weird answers, but Tracy was the only one that understood what it was saying. And then we found out later that the person that was actually coming through the Ouija board was one of the co-workers that had died about 2 or 3 years ago. And Maria had foresight to see a shadow, and she kind of explained it looked kind of like Peter Griffin. And Tracy's like, okay, that's not funny. He goes, come with us. So we all get up and we go down the hallway. We turn right where the other studios are, and there's DJs there. And then we see this wall of pictures. And one of them kind of looked like Peter Griffin. And she goes, that's the one. And he goes, he's the one that died like 2 or 3 years ago. And he's like, wow. We all freaked out at that time, so we stopped playing. And we were like, we have all this evidence, and we're thinking, that's pretty cool. It kind of scared Tracy because he has to work there every day. And with me and Maria, we were pretty fascinated. We're always fascinated whenever evidence comes to light, and we validate each other. And so she's a pretty good psychic, and she hasn't lost her touch. And but with that said, check out all of this stuff. I'm gonna go and get a drink, and then you can listen to all the podcasts and enjoy the pictures and the videos. I'll try to talk over and see what pictures what and tell you what exactly happened at that point. So until then, check this out.
Well, let me put it this way. What is the such White boy, speak English, please. Excuse me while I drink my juice.
Drink break. Beef jerky time.
That was smooth. Just thought we'd play back a unedited version of the show. We had stopped for the break and decided to go back and just out of curiosity see if we had picked up anything, because we had sort of observed some odd things going on in the studio, and that was one of them. I don't know if you would call them voices, sounds that were not created by myself or Jenna. I don't know what to say. I mean, I really don't know where to even begin. I mean, we try to have fun while we're doing this, and the old adage, be careful what you wish for, I guess you could apply to this, because at one point when you were talking about how someone might conjure up a demon, in between that, I think a point where you said they would mention their name is where we caught someone mentioning a name, or mentioning something. Well, I'm not sure what it was. It wasn't your voice. It wasn't my voice. And as it progresses, an individual talks, or a male voice rather, comes very softly is talking, and it's quite clear what he says. I'm not going to repeat it. I'm going to let the people that are listening kind of determine what they think it is. Then might kind of make an incredibly bad joke, and whatever this is kind of chimes in at the same time. So just how careful do you have to be even when you're discussing this stuff? I mean, is it possible that there are things that kind of hang around waiting for an opportunity to just kind of pop in and go, hello, we're here?
I think, yeah.
You touched Jenna. Why can't you touch her again?
hurt you.
Excuse me, I'm here to send a letter.
They did the same dull routine over and over and over again. Nothing says love until you've cooked on a stove like that one enough.
You suck. I'll stand right here.
Why?
Because I just got touched.
I figured you did.
You suck.
Thank you. What are friends for?
You're awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Evidently nothing.
Who's that?
I don't know. Somebody goes out here.
Come on in.
Juice. Wasn't that cool? So, thanks for sharing that with me. I'm happy to tell more on my ghostly stuff that happened through all my investigations over the years. But thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Go check out my other YouTube channel and hang out with me there. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Music, of course, was provided by royalty-free music, and I'm so grateful for that. Thank you for watching. And until my next video, we'll see you on the other side. Pleasant dreams, everybody. Bye.